Hey guys, this is Wise Guy Talks. I am the Wise Guy. I am Guy Mitgiff, and we are coming to you from my secret lair tonight. We have the world famous, the incomparable, the simply immeasurable Natan Ton. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So, what'd you do today? Did you pick any chrysanthemums? What's your favorite flower? Let me guess. Hibiscus.
Hydrangeas.
Hydrangeas. What's the difference between hibiscus and hydrangea? Because I don't know.
Well, hydrangeas are the kings of flowers.
Why? Why do you say that? You got to qualify that, man.
They're bigger. They bloom a lot longer. And even when they die, you can actually cut them, and they still look good.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife's really into them. So I guess you guys have some intersectionality. Can I use that word tonight since we're talking about all these crazy things?
If it doesn't offend her, I'm fine with it.
You know, I was. You said you didn't want to call this segment critical race theory. You wanted to call it systemic racism. But I was thinking about it. You know what I think we ought to call it, really and truly?
What?
Us versus them. Because that's really what it is.
Okay.
Isn't that what it boils down to at the end of the day? They're trying to make you and us, and you're trying to make them and them.
Yep. There is no such thing as systemic racism.
Oh, really? Well, you know what? There's a lot of people that disagree with you. Matter of fact, people have written books and they've made a lot of money, and they go around, they talk on campus about it all the time.
And who are they? What do you call them? Social scientists?
They are historians with a master's degree.
Nope. That's not true. They're mostly psychologists or psychiatrists, sociologists. The social science. To me, the social science is actually an oxymoron.
What'd you call me? Hold on a second. I had to threaten you last time with my Marine Corps saber that I still have since, look at this. Is this nice or what? It's called a Mameluke, and it's named after, I believe the Mamelukes were
Turks.
The Mamelukes were Turks?
Yes, they're slaves.
I thought they were black.
Nope. The Mamelukes were Turkish troops that were slaves, soldiers.
Where do they come from, Mr. Know-It-All?
Yeah, well, Central Asia. Originally,
all right, there you go with the Central
they were
Asia
slaves,
crap again.
And then they were brought into Egypt as mercenaries.
So if they came from Egypt, and if they came from Nubia, that would mean that they had to be.
Nope, they came from Central Asia.
All right.
Oh, we're getting
off
so far
off the track.
Yeah.
Back to us versus them. So,
Yes.
where did systemic racism? Where and when and why? Where, when, why did it begin?
Okay, let's begin somewhere in Germany, 1930s. Marxism. When Marxism came out, the social science or the social theory came up with ways to explain the ills of the society or institutions. After that, the German social scientists, so-called social scientists, they came up with a critical theory.
It wasn't critical race theory?
Nope. There's no race issue in Germany. So there wasn't no critical race theory.
Yeah, but didn't they have the Poles and the Austrians and the...
Yeah, but it wasn't so much race. It's about, Marxism is about class, about the upper class versus the common, the lower class.
The versus the proletariat.
And, yes. So American social scientists decided that they could add race into it because America is all about race, isn't it? So it became critical race theory. And that's how you get systemic racism.
And what was the goal? I mean, when these German dudes are sitting around, Zeke Heilen and all the stuff that they do, what was their ultimate goal?
Well,
let me ask you, did the Nazis adopt this idea of Marxism?
No.
Why? Why did they reject it?
Well, that's a whole different topic. Let me just go back. Social theory deals with the understanding of how society are not working, the ills of society. Social or critical theory deals with understanding the problems of society and trying to change or challenge that society.
Okay, so let's say they're successful in eliminating all the ills of the world and maybe all the white people. I don't know.
Well,
what replaces it?
Well, Marxism.
Okay, and where has that ever worked?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Well,
so
I'm sorry. But here in America, they add race into it.
Well, that complicates things dramatically.
Exactly. That's where this whole notion that America is a white supremacy, the institution of America are rooted in white supremacy. Therefore, white privilege, systemic racism, all those come in.
Doesn't this become ultimately a self-licking ice cream cone? And let me explain why. If you have feminism, and back in the 60s, we all remember, and maybe not you, but I was born in 58, so I remember feminism quite handily. And one of the things is all about girl power, female power. But it began to eat itself up because the females broke up into groups. You had white females, you had black females, you had Asian females, and then you had bisexual females, and then now we've leapt forward to where we not only have bisexual, but we have transgender, and then the cisgender. And
it's not going to end.
And it seems like it's like an atom that just keeps breaking itself up into smaller and smaller particles. Is that kind of what we're going with this? And it ultimately there is no ultimate conclusion, because don't they need mass to feed upon, to be angry, to go through that cycle that I call fear, anger, and violence? I mean, isn't that a necessary aspect to it?
Pretty much so.
Yeah.
Even if you take race out of it, you can replace it with critical sex theory.
Of course.
If you're a feminist.
Yes, I'm a feminist. I love
Yes.
females. Yes. So sorry. Can I say that? Or
Now
did
that's
I
being sexist right there.
But I do like females. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go against my programming, my DNA programming, and
Yes.
say that I hate females? But see, that's the problem. Now, if I hate females, what does that mean? If I came out and told you I hate females,
Either way, you're a sexist.
so I'm hosed any way you look at it.
Yes, correct.
All right.
So there's no
Back to the oppression metrics, though. I think they're important. Let's talk about the oppression metrics, the road that you were going down.
What was that? Well, white privilege?
Yes, where
Okay.
we were breaking up into
Yeah.
different groups and
So-
by metrics.
So let's go back to critical race theory. Bottom line is that America as a whole is a racist country. There's systemic racism. That's why there's the divide between the races. Why are blacks not successful? And the blame is on systemic racism.
Hmm.
So that's the whole argument right there.
Can we hold on that for 1 second while we give proper respect to our sponsors?
Please do.
First one, Victor Avila just wrote a great book. He used to be an ICE agent. He's now medically retired. And the name of this book is Agent Under Fire. It just came out not too long ago. If you want to buy this book, if you want to help an American patriot out, the way you can do that is go to agentunderfirebook.com, and you can order the book from there. Do you have a copy of it?
I just got it in. I'm going to read it, and next time we're going to talk about it.
Is it hard? Is it a hardback?
Yes,
Or is it a softback?
Yeah, I spent some money on it.
Is yours signed and autographed?
It's not signed and autographed, but it will be.
Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, help Victor out. Go buy his book. We want to get him over the 1 million book mark as soon as we can.
Yes.
And he's. I tell you what, he's smoking it, man. He's getting podcasts 2 to 3 a day. He's getting interviews, radio interviews, and pretty soon I think he's going to get some good TV shots as well. He's already been on Tucker Carlson like 2 or 3 times, and Michelle Malkin and who's the other? Cheryl Atkinson. Oh,
Wow.
she's a good-looking lady.
You ought to have him on.
Yeah. So anyhow, back to the show. We're going to talk about human trafficking. Victor wants to come on and talk about it. He played a big role in that internationally. Say he's a real James Bond kind of guy.
Yeah.
I always call him the Dean Cain of Texas. Have you ever noticed how much he looks like Dean Cain?
Yes, he does.
It's pretty amazing.
It's a Superman guy.
Dean Cain, if you're watching this, call him in. He wants to talk to you. All right. See you
Yeah.
later, Superman. Anyhow, this whole thing's rooted in Marxism. Doesn't have anything to do with the French Revolution. You know, I'm a big fan of the French Revolution. I think
No, it doesn't.
I disagree with you.
Yeah, well, you bring it up and let me see what's your take.
You got the master's degree. Go ahead. Hit me. Why?
Well, the French Revolution was the overthrowment of what? The monarchy.
Of the
And it's
bourgeois,
all,
yes.
yeah, and it's about, what is it? Liberty,
Liberté, égalité, fraternité.
fraternity, yes. And did it work out well? No.
Well, we're hoping because it's been about 250 years. So we're hoping that it'll work out eventually. I mean, doesn't hope spring eternal? I mean, isn't that the big idea?
Well,
So-
even before the success of the revolution, there were a lot of heads being chopped off. And that led to a lot of disillusionment. There were a lot of people that didn't go along with it. And what ended up was Napoleon.
So I don't understand Napoleon, the way he plays into this whole thing, though.
Well, Napoleon was a military officer. And he led, I believe, he was under a certain general that had trust in him, that believed that he could win a battle, and which he did. He won multiple battles and eventually ended up, becoming emperor.
Yeah. So if you ask me, the reason that I think that Karl Marx looked back at 1789, my opinion is he goes, I like some of the ideas that they're talking about here because they want to get rid of God. So very Nietzsche-esque. So let's get rid of God. He doesn't exist. We live for the moment. There's no religion. There's no church. The parent, they want to reduce the parent and have the child disrespect the parent quite a bit. And if you look at what went on at the school not too long ago, you can see how these children are phenomenally off the chart, disrespectful to parents, to adults. No respect for them whatsoever. Someone needed a really good spanking, if you know what I mean. And so, and then also institutions. They wanted to destroy monuments. I see any corollary there. So that's why, in my own humble opinion, I believe that the French Revolution may have been the precursor to Marxism, which kind of got us to where we are today. But that's my opinion.
You might be right, but
Yeah.
let's go back to critical race theory. It's the same thing. It's about, you have, a social theory moving into critical theory, which is not just to understand the ills of government or institution, but to change it, to fundamentally change the institution that is considered racist or somewhat oppressive.
And why is that so important?
Well, it's important because it's going to fundamentally change the entire system of government, institution included.
So if you look at Marxism Part 2, which we have now, which gave us critical race theory, which gave us systemic racism, which gave us versus them, it seems to me that all of a sudden skin color has become incredibly important. I almost get the impression sometimes that they believe that all whites are inherently evil and racist, and that they, by definition, must be the oppressors of the oppressed.
Yeah, but that can change. I'll give you an example. What right now is white privilege. But how do you define white?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, for example, Barack Obama.
Well, he's half.
Could he be considered white, or was only the
Well-
part of him that people didn't like white, and the part of him that people did like was black? I don't know. How about Tiger Woods? I guess not technically correct because his mom was Filipino, I believe.
Thai.
Thai. Oh man, sorry about that, Thailand.
Yeah. But anyway, let me back you off.
Yeah,
So recently,
back me up or back me off.
let's go back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And tell me about Vietnamese money again. What's it called?
Dong.
Okay, let's skip that one.
Yeah, let's not go into that. But
Why,
anyway,
why the hell would they name money after a human part? Why would they? Were they thinking about it when they said, you know what, we're going to call it? I mean, you had the bot.
the correct pronunciation is dong.
Then why do you call it dong?
I'm picking on you. You're a white guy.
You're such a racist. You really are. I will beat the hell out of you. I'll bring my cone-headed buddies over.
We'll do that later, but let's get back to
This is
topic
for
here.
spanking,
Let's get
by
back
the
to
way.
topic
Yeah,
here.
where were we?
Okay, remember we talked about defining who's white, who's
Right.
not,
Right.
or people of color. Recently, in Washington State, there's a school district that has just classified Asians as non-people of color.
Say what? They did what?
Yes.
All right.
So-
Who the frick? Who the flock?
These
Are the
are-
theys? Who are the theys? I want to know who these people are. The they.
Well,
Who are those guys?
leftists, liberals that decide, whether there's white privilege or systemic racism.
Are they
And
white or black or a combination thereof?
I believe a combination. And usually it's the white guy that is going to define who's white, who's not.
So, total aside here, but something I noticed, I've gone and videoed and I photographed several demonstrations, the BLM demonstrations, and I noticed that there are some white guys that are wearing these Guy Fawkes masks, the Guy Fawkes, the little white
Oh, yeah.
mustache-looking thing. I think it's Guy Fawkes, whatever. They tend to sit on the periphery, and they are constantly texting. And I've heard that they actually direct the various races and get them all wound up. But when it comes time to getting handcuffs put on them, they're nowhere to be seen. They're out organizing for the next one. So I walked up to one of these guys and I said, "Hey, can I join Antifa?" And he said, he goes, what are you talking about? And I said, well, if you are not Antifa, I will tell you that they'll probably skin you alive because you got the skinny pants on, you got the black hair that's, I'm thinking is not real, you got the black hat, got the Guy Fawkes mask on, and the long sleeve shirt, and it's 80 degrees, 85 degrees on a Texas day. I can make that 95 degrees. So if you're not qualified, or if you're not a card carrying a member of Antifa, you should be. So he said something that starts with a F and ends with a U. I'm not for sure exactly what that was. Maybe we need a Vietnamese translator.
Phuc you?
Yes, I think, no, that's a university in Vietnam, isn't it? Yeah, Hong Kong. So anyhow, I thought you'd find that interesting. So we're back in the Northwest, and you lost your credibility as a minority. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes. To all those out there that are Asians in Washington State, you are now overnight moving from people of color to white.
Yeah, the funny thing is, a lot of our friends from India, and we know many of them that live here, this is a very multicultural society that we live in, and a lot of their kids are looking to apply to go to Harvard and Yale. And the funny thing is, if you want to see racism, pure, straight-up racism, look what happens to those kids, and the Chinese kids, and the Japanese kids when they get ready to apply to Harvard. Even though, let's say that their grade point average was 100, kids that have a 75 or 80 are put at the same level. And to me, that is just the most beautiful, the quintessential example of Marxism, critical race theory, systemic racism, you versus them, because what they want to guarantee is, I don't really care how hard you worked. We're going to all cross that finish line at the same time. It doesn't matter how hard we worked.
But more importantly, remember this, it's not about race anymore.
Yeah.
It's about they deciding who belongs to a certain group.
Yeah, I still want to know who they are. Hey, by the way, there's this great business here in town. It is called Hawaiian Nail Bar. I go in there because I do a lot of walking. All right. I lost 80 pounds. You didn't know fat me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get as skinny as you. I don't know if I'll quite make that or not. How much you weigh, man? What do you like?
140. When I was in the military, I was 130.
Wow. So you put on 10 pounds.
I know.
You're a fat slug over there at 140
I'm working on
pounds.
it. I'm working on it.
What's your belt? What is that, like an 18? Your
16.
belt. Yes. You wear a 16 belt?
32.
Oh, 32.
I'm gaining it right here.
I mean, you look pregnant. So what the heck? Anyhow, Nail Bar. Love the place. The folks that work in there, the ladies, they just relax you. They've got these beautiful chairs, got TVs and everything. You can wear your headsets, and they go to work on your feet. And when you walk out of there, I'm swearing to you, you feel like you're walking on clouds.
You get your chest waxed?
Can you say that 3 times very quickly?
Did you get your chest waxed?
I want to see chest wax, chest wax, chest wax. I want to hear that 3 times. No, I will not ever get any part of my body waxed because I did it in Egypt a long time ago and I cried like a little girl. I've never felt more pain in my life. It felt good at first when they spread that hot wax on my back. I go, that feels good. And then they put these long strips on there, and they said something in Arabic that probably meant this is going to hurt like a MO. And so I sit there, and then all of a sudden I hear this ripping sound, followed shortly by an out-of-body experience. I was screeching. I was crying. I mean, I never felt anything more painful. So I walked out of there with the only guy that's ever had a mohawk back hair removal. So I had one strip of hair removed off my spine, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and pay you full. I've had enough. I'm going to walk out of here with mohawk. And that's what I did. So it hurts, man. It really hurts. I can imagine women, I mean, I guess dudes do it now too, but maybe there's something better than hot wax and cloth strips now.
Well, it's a good thing I'm Asian. There's no hair on me.
I don't care. I don't care. So what can you tell me when I tell you I'm going to play a word game with you? Feelings don't care about your facts. What does that mean to you when I say that?
Feelings don't care about facts. Well, facts don't mean to people that don't care about facts.
That's exactly what that means. And I've seen that quite often with this crowd, this far left crowd, this evolved crowd. They seem to think that their feelings are more important than anything else. But again, to me, what they're talking about ultimately brings chaos because I don't know who said it, but ignorance begets chaos. And that goes back to what you said about the First Amendment on several occasions. If I'm not allowed to express myself in a meaningful way and then have you and me have a discussion about my thoughts, if we break up that process at any point, it can lead ultimately to chaos, fear, anger, violence, that cycle we can get into. And don't you think that that's kind of the danger that we have right now, what's going on in our society?
Yeah, well, without the First Amendment, we're done as a republic. I'm telling you, if you disagree with me and I can't express my opinion, and then you're gonna get all emotional, and you're gonna call me a racist or a bigot or a homophobe. We're done. I mean, there's no conversation
That's
anymore.
the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I messed up on really bad? And I apologize to the fine people at the Hawaiian Nail Bar, but I did not finish my advertisement. You pulled me off track when you asked me about getting Manscaped.
Yes.
Which I do not do. But anyhow, if you want to give them a shot, they're right downtown Southlake, 2645 East Southlake Boulevard. I'll repeat that, 2645 East Southlake Boulevard. That's Suite, as in SWEET, 160. Give them a call, 817-416-6568. So where were we? Without truth, you can't have reason. What do you think about that?
No truth, no reason. The end of the republic.
Yeah. And again, I keep going back. People, if you wonder what's going on, why I keep talking about the school board, there's just been some total insanity that's gone on at our school board. And a lot of it's because people, it's a very conservative community, about 70% conservative, but they went to sleep at the wheel. And people that really believe in this stuff, systemic or critical race theory, they got in charge. And they got in charge at school boards, and they got in charge in the school, and they hired some folks that many people describe them as straight up racist that have done some very, very bad things to our children. So we're fighting that. We're trying to peel back the onion, and we're trying to educate you as an American citizen when this comes to your town. And trust me, if it's not there, it will be soon enough. And they'll try to put together diversity councils, and then they'll try to come up with all these neat little rules. But basically what those rules do, they break everybody up into different silos. And each one of those silos is given more value. And unfortunately, it seems like the white kids are given a special silo where they're just automatically evil. They're racist. I mean, there's nothing else that they can be. Am I correct on this, Wild Man?
You nailed it.
Yeah.
Remember, they're not going to use the term critical race theory. They're going to use diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yeah.
But you know,
When they're using words like that, you better just grab your wallet
Run.
and leave. Yeah. No, actually, what you need to do is vote them the hell out of office. That's what you need to do. And be careful. I know that these are not supposed to be political offices, but I guarantee you, the people here in Carroll ISD that are pushing this garbage, they're far left. They are far left people. They're not center right people. And so we woke up to it. They kind of woke the sleeping giant and kind of pissed off a lot of people in the community. You know, there's been some fairly hearty engagements, of which you have been one of our fearless speakers a couple times.
Yeah.
What do you like to talk about when you go up there and you talk? Who are you addressing? What's the message that you try to say?
well, my message is, bottom line is, I don't want to be classified, my kids to be classified as victims or people of color or students of colors, because that's demeaning to do that. They just kids. They just want to get along. They just want to play with everyone, whether you're black, white. They are dragons. I don't want kids to be labeled as anything. They're there to be educated. They're there not to be divided into groups. To have them divided into groups, whether you're white, black, or victims or not victims, those are not healthy.
Yeah. In show 3, that'll be coming up shortly, I think we've decided on a name for it, and it's going to be called The Left's New Religion, Politics.
Wow.
And well, didn't you come up with that name?
You did.
I did. Man, I'm smart. Aren't I? What are we going to call this show? Oh, yeah, Systemic Racism, Part 2. But in that, we're going to generally talk about, I'm not going to give too much of it away, but there's been a change in historically the way that cultures have treated each other. One of the things that's unique about the Western culture is they kind of live by what was called the guilt culture, and most of the rest of the world live by what is called the shame culture. For those that are really studious and they want to do some work on this, Ruth Benedict was my source. In 1946, she wrote a great book called The Chrysanthemum and the Sword. So I'll be utilizing that as something of a source to talk about the bifurcation between the shame culture and the guilt culture. As we wrap this thing up, give us some hope. Give us some idea of what we can do. In show 1, you accused all white men, which I thought was kind of a racist thing, of having no balls. So you were trying to, I think what you were trying to do in that show was to let people know that, you know, stand up, figure out classy ways to stand up, be bold, speak your mind, go to city council, city hall, you know, and speak your mind, school boards.
Well, you got to, because the whole thing about not speaking up is that you allow the left to run their narrative, and you don't have any solution to this, to end this. You got to speak up, fight back, grow some balls.
Now, you don't mean physically grow some balls, do you? I mean, what happens if you're a woman, you want to be strong? I mean,
Well, I know
all
some
right,
women
stop
that
there.
have.
All right, stop. So as we finish up, one last sponsor that I really want to point out, and it's Southlake CHL. So if you're a Second Amendment loving gun toter like myself that goes to the range every chance I get, there's a great gentleman here in Southlake. His name is Mark. He's been giving this class for a long, long time, many, many years, and it's called Southlake CHL, southlakechl.com, and you can sign up for there. He gives what I call boutique classes. The one that I went to on Sunday, it had 3 people in there, myself and a husband and wife team, and we sit around for like 4 hours. He gives a test, 25-question test, and he prepares you well for it. Then you head on out to the range and you do some shooting. And unfortunately, I'd had my trigger lightened. It was a 5.5-pound Glock 17X, and I had my trigger lightened, and I didn't take it to the range and test fire it. So it went from 5.5 pounds to 2 pounds. So when I pulled the trigger, 3 bullets came out of it like that. Everybody looked at me like, what the hell's going on?
No, I want that gun.
No, you don't want that gun because it's impossible to control. So normally I'm hoping, at 7 yards or 10 yards max, I could typically group like that. And you can go 1, 2, 3. And I think the third one may still be flying. No, it got stopped in the range. But I'll tell you what, that got my attention. So I stayed up till that night about 3. That's how anal I am about my weapons, my arms. But I stayed up till about 3:30. I'll probably talk to you till 11:30, and then I stayed up till like 3:30, changing the trigger.
Hey, I understand that you're making ammos now.
No, I'm not, but I'm looking at getting into it because paying 60 cents a round for ammo is just crazy. It's the same crowd that went out there and filled up their car, their house, their wagon, their shed with toilet paper. It's the same crowd that goes out there, has never shot a gun before, never will shoot, and they're going out hoarding tens of thousands of rounds. And guys like me that shoot competitively 2 or 3 times a week, we can't get it. So I'm starting to tap into my reserves because I do shoot a lot, and I'm saving my brass casings, and I'm probably going to get a reloader at the turn of the year. So, yeah.
Well, cool.
Yeah. So, anyhow, SouthlakeCHL.com. Give Mark a call over there. Great guy. Nathan, why don't you bump us out? Give us some ideas on, how important this topic is, what we're going to talk about next time, the shame and guilt culture. And
well, it's very important because it goes back to the First Amendment. We got to be able to come together and disagree. I mean, the whole point of the First Amendment is disagreement. It's not about you and I agreeing. What's the point of the First Amendment if you and I agree?
Right.
We got to come together.
That is the point, isn't it? I mean, my kids, I've kind of gotten to the point where I know that I'm not going to be able to change their mind, but I'm hoping that if I make a convincing enough argument, like when you came in, what was my daughter in the process of doing?
Well, she was contesting her professor about a point.
A point. To tell you how anal my wonderful daughter is, out of 50 questions, she got 1 wrong. And so she's arguing. I would have never done this in a million years. But here she is arguing with this guy on how she came up was in entomology, and she was arguing with the professor on how she came
I like
up
that.
I do too. I mean, she's got some spunk, grit, true grit. I love that word. So anyhow, thank you so much for coming in. You're awesome, great host.
As always, thank you.
I like your price. Your fees are reasonable. I can handle that. And so we're going to let you get back home and have your favorite. Nathan eats at midnight, and he eats raw fish heads with the eyeballs removed. What do you do? Boil that in a broth? Is that what you do?
Well, you use the bat for the broth.
Bat.
Yes.
Have you really, seriously, man, are you just pulling my leg, or have you really had bat?
What's wrong with you?
I don't, I grew up in Texas. We don't eat bats in Texas. We don't eat cats either. No, have you ever had a cat?
Denied.
Man, you just wrecked my show.
Denied.
I know, okay. So we'll definitely edit that part out. All right, man, I think that's a wrap. Thank you.
Thank you.